This is One-on-One. Welcome to the Tisch WNET studio here at Lincoln Center. Back by popular demand, we have Adam Bryant, who is the author of Quick and Nimble. He is also the author of a terrific column in the New York Times twice a week now, called The Corner Office, one of my favorite columns twice a week. Listen, everything about business and leadership and important stuff. And this is all about how we need to lead innovation, the culture of innovation. One of the first things you say in this, by the way, interviewed how many CEOs and leaders?
More than 200 for that book.
Okay, I'm going to jump right into it. What's your problem with email? And what does that have to do with getting in the way of innovation?
Well, I think first off that to get innovation right, you have to get the culture right. And culture is about the relationships that colleagues have with each other. Can they communicate? And you have to get that right before you can innovate, I think. And email is a particular problem. I have a chapter called The Hazards of Email. Email was invented as this great productivity tool, but I actually think it's a terrible communication tool. The key phrase to me is that things get lost in translation. I send you what to me seems like a very simple and straightforward email, but I get a blast back from you and thinking, what was Steve thinking about what I was trying to say? And then I get my backup and suddenly we chew up an entire afternoon, whereas if I wandered down the hall and talked to you in person, we'd solve whatever problem in 60 seconds and high-five each other and walk away. And just email is just so problematic. As one CEO said to me too, email taps into a really bad part of our brain, which is the part that always wants to have the last word. And so you get these, you get these CC loops and people start taking sides. I just talked to a lot of CEOs who have really clear rules in their organizations to kind of rip out that email culture. It's just one example. You can't argue over email. One back and forth, and then pick up the phone or walk down the hall.
But it's interesting. I agree with a lot of that because arguing back and forth makes no sense. It's got to be face to face. But there is a place in the culture of innovation because I'm not the only one, but I know some other wacky CEOs who will send emails at wacky times.
Right.
You can't be picking up the phone and calling people.
Yeah.
So sending emails to share information or have an idea. You okay with that?
Yeah, the simple rule I've developed is that when anything is at stake, whenever there is a possibility for misunderstanding what the person is saying, don't do it.
Don't do it.
If it's a simple transactional, here's some information, we had this conversation, this is how I remembered it, just to get it on the page, all that stuff, it's fine. It's just when there's when something can get lost in translation, don't do it.
And the other thing, in terms of being lost in translation, and by the way, so much of what is in the book, Quick and Nimble, really has to do with communication, which is I'm fascinated by the art of. You talk about the importance of one of the keys to the culture of innovation is to have what you're calling adult conversations.
Yeah.
Describe that.
Just another phrase for frank discussions, giving people tough feedback. I think most managers literally will go out of their way to avoid having these discussions. They are stressful, but they don't want to do them. People rationalize away. It's like, I got too much to do. Maybe they were having a bad day, maybe I'll bring it up 9 months from now in the performance review, and then the person's head, explodes. What are you bringing this up for? And so I really come to believe the importance of just having the conversations, because a lot of stuff, it's just about freeing up the energy. I mean, if you and I work together, we're going to have disagreements, but if you get it out in the open and you discuss it, that suddenly releases all that energy. We can get back to our work. And there is an art to it. I mean, I heard
What do you mean art?
I heard this great expression from one CEO that you don't go over the net. It's like a tennis or volleyball metaphor that I never make statements that carry assumptions about what's motivating you to do something or not do something. I just talk about my perception of it, how, I see you doing this. This is how it makes me feel. You come in 20 minutes late for work every day, Stephen. I know you do. That makes me feel like you don't care. That's a very different statement than me saying it seems like you don't care, because then you're going to say, hey, Adam, who are you to say whether I care or not? So it's that little distinction can make a really big difference.
There's an art form, as you said. Yeah. The other one of the tips, interesting. How about this one, of the many tips that are in here? It's about, how about this one? The hazards, a simple plan, I'm sorry, because there's so many tips. The simple plan, I thought to myself, well, life is complicated, business is complicated, getting more and more complicated, and Adam says you need a simple plan.
Yeah.
that seems like a contradiction.
Well, it's a leader's job to figure out the simple plan. If they're working at a complicated company in a complicated industry, I think a leader owes their employees the moment where they can stand up in front of everybody and say, this is where we're going and this is how we're going to get there. And these are the three things that we're going to use to measure our progress. Because I don't think most people can remember more than three things. There's a great expression, if you have more than three priorities, you don't have priorities.
What's important? Everything? Well, that means nothing's important, right?
Exactly. And the really important benefit of having a simple plan is that everybody can understand how the work they are doing contributes to the team's goals. Because I do think we're wired to contribute. We want to be part of a team. We want to help the team win. You know, in sports, the scoreboard is always clear. We can always figure out how, you know, we're role players. That doesn't happen at work often because the plan isn't clear, so everybody starts pursuing their own agenda. And that's when you get silos, you know, the different departments doing their own thing. And as one CEO said to me, silos are what topple great companies. And I really believe that. And silos can happen also on an individual basis. I can be a silo. I'm doing my own thing, you're doing your own thing. And the best sort of counterweight to that is the CEO saying, this is our simple plan.
The other thing that I want you to talk about, which is embedded throughout the book, even though you don't call it one of the tips or tools to creating a culture of innovation. But I think about this a lot. And you and I have talked about this. Because you, by the way, you can check out Adam's stuff, his great columns in the New York Times. I write for the other paper. Yeah, like there's the Ledger, the Star Ledger, and there's the New York Times, right? Right?
Equal competitors.
Exactly.
Yes,
that's the way I like to look at it.
You
and I
should.
write about business, you write about business, write about leadership. But I sit there and I'm looking at your stuff and I go, wow, I really like his stuff because I'm always learning from you. But the one thing that both of us think about a lot, but is embedded in here, is the issue of passion. And here's the thing I'm trying to get at. How much passion is too much passion on the part of the CEO? Because I'll often think, you push, you push, you push. Sometimes do some of us push too hard? And can we expect that others around us have the same level of intensity bordering on, you know, something a little unhealthy? You know what I'm talking about?
Of course, yeah.
What do you pick up here? Because we want people to care,
Yeah.
but, you know,
Yeah.
takes a little bit of craziness to be the CEO sometimes.
Yeah, and what I've realized over time that a lot of leadership is incredibly hard, and a lot of leadership is about hitting the right balance point. A lot of the toughest aspects of leadership are tough because they're essentially paradox, like finding the right balance point. And so, yes, you do want to be passionate. You do want to sort of set the tone and create that energy, but you can be so passionate that you get ahead of everybody and you look behind and they're way back there. So I've heard a lot of CEOs talk about how they've had to learn how to slow down a bit and communicate and over-communicate to make sure that everybody knows why we're doing what we're doing and why you're so fired up about where we're going.
But you have to create a sense of urgency.
Yes.
Which sounds like a contradiction.
It is, though. That's the thing. Is it this or is it that? Yes. That's why leadership is so hard.
And the other part of the book that I find fascinating is you talk about those who want to be popular and liked are in trouble in leadership.
Yeah, because you have to make the decisions that are right for the team, and you can't be so empathetic. I've heard a lot of CEOs talk about it. You can't be so concerned about morale and how people are feeling that you lose sight of the vision and where you need to take the team. Again, another tricky balance point, right?
Balance.
You have to have good antenna, you know, get that sixth sense for the mood of the place, but you also have to say, look, maybe people aren't happy, but this is where we're going. And if you're not on the team, get off the team.
Good stuff. Adam Bryant is the author of Quick and Nimble, and he's also the author of a wonderful column in the New York Times called The Corner Office. And you interview fascinating people, and you take that information and you package it in a way and present it in a way that we can all learn from. I want to thank you for joining
Great.
us.
Thanks,
you have an
Steve.
open invitation here on One-on-One.
Always happy to
We
come
always
back.
learn. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stay with us. We'll be right back right after this.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating 25 years of broadcast excellence in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System. This special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato is brought to you from the Tisch WNET studios at Lincoln Center. Funding has been provided by Hackensack University Health Network, County College of Morris, PSE&G, MD Advantage Insurance Company of New Jersey, Wells Fargo, Celgene Corporation, and by Kessler Foundation. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area.